Hey, my Stoic friends, I want you to imagine something. Someone walks out of your life. No goodbye, no explanation, just silence. The kind of silence that echoes, leaving you with a void. It hurts, doesn't it? The absence of their presence, the unanswered questions. But then, suddenly, out of nowhere, they come back. They return as though nothing ever happened, and you're left standing there wondering, why? Why, after all that time, all that silence, do they come back? This question isn't just about them. It's about understanding yourself, your worth, and how you navigate the complex dance of relationships. It's about seeing the deeper truth that lies beneath their return. Because their return isn't just a reflection of them, it's a reflection of how much they've come to realize what they lost, even if they can't always articulate it. And that's where your Stoic wisdom comes in. We've all experienced the pain of someone leaving without a word, and it's hard not to feel like you've been dismissed, forgotten, or taken for granted. But I want you to understand something today. Their return is not about needing them to come back to validate your worth. Not. It's about you are realizing your own strength, dignity, and self-respect. You see, when you are emotionally steady, when you know your worth, you become less affected by the noise of others' actions. Whether they leave or come back, you stand firm in your own value. This is the essence of Stoicism. We cannot control the actions of others, but we can control how we react to them. It's about accepting the situation with grace, not desperation. And here's the powerful truth I want you to remember. Your absence holds weight. They feel it, even if they can't immediately understand it. Your energy, your presence, your steadiness, they realize it once it's gone. But here's the key. You don't need their return to affirm your worth. You've already built that sense of self. So, as we explore the mystery of their return today, I want you to hold on to this central truth. Your worth is not contingent on anyone's presence, not on their absence, and certainly not on their return. And as we move through this together, let's affirm these truths in our hearts. Number 1, they realize your value in absence. I want you to really think about this. When someone leaves your life, they often don't realize the full extent of what they had until it's no longer there. It's a hard truth, but it's also a powerful one. Absence has this strange way of making people reflect on what they took for granted. They don't see your value while you're there, but once you're gone, they're forced to recognize it. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When they leave, you may feel as though your world is turned upside down, but what's crucial here is how you respond to the situation. When you choose silence, when you don't chase after them, you're sending a clear message without saying a word. Your absence forces them to reckon with their own choices, and more importantly, it makes them realize how much they took you for granted. It's in your absence that you communicate your value. It's not about begging for attention or validation. It's about holding firm to your self-worth, regardless of whether they choose to recognize it or not. When you withdraw, not out of bitterness but out of respect for yourself, you make a profound statement. You say, "I will not be treated as an afterthought. I will not settle for being a second choice." And here's the thing, they may not acknowledge it immediately, but they will eventually feel it. They'll start to notice that something is missing. The stability you provided, the strength you brought, the way you were there for them. Your absence becomes a mirror to their own actions, and in that reflection, they see the value they overlooked. This is a moment for you to stand tall. I want you to take a moment and affirm this. I am valuable beyond measure. Drop that affirmation in the comments if it resonates with you. Know that your value isn't defined by their presence, nor is it diminished by their absence. It is constant, steady, and unshakable. You are worthy, not because they say so, but because you believe it in your soul. And when you stand firm in that truth, others are forced to see it too, whether they like it or not. Number 2, they feel the void of your presence. When someone leaves your life, they often think that everything will continue as it was, but the truth is, your presence left a unique impact, and they may only realize that once you're gone. It's not just the absence of a person, it's the absence of the energy you brought, the stability, the support, and the way you made them feel. Your absence forces them to confront something they might not have fully appreciated before, the void you left behind. Marcus Aurelius, a wise Stoic, once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What he meant is that your presence shaped their environment in a way they may not have understood at the time. The way you supported them, listened to them, and stood by them, those were things they took for granted. But when you're no longer there, those little moments that they didn't even recognize before become glaringly obvious. They feel the emptiness. And that emptiness isn't just about missing your physical presence, it's about missing the energy, the balance, the sense of comfort that came with knowing you were there. Your calmness, your resilience, and your inner strength created a foundation they could rely on, whether they admitted it or not. When you step away, it's as though the world shifts just a little bit out of alignment for them. They begin to see what their life was like with you in it, and the stark contrast is enough to make them question their own choices. The absence of your presence becomes a powerful, unspoken message. You are no longer a constant in their life, and that fact alone starts to make them realize how much they miss what you provided. But this isn't just about feeling missed. It's about them realizing that you were a source of peace, strength, and stability in their life. Affirm this with me. My absence speaks louder than words. If you agree with this, drop it in the comments. You don't need to beg for someone to see your value. When you remove yourself from the equation, they feel the void in ways words could never express. Your absence is its own language, a language they can't ignore. You don't have to chase them. Your absence is enough to make them reflect, to make them realize the depth of what they lost. And that realization, that's what will bring them back to you. But remember, your absence isn't about weakness. It's about showing them your strength. You don't need anyone to complete you. You are whole on your own. Number 3, curiosity about your growth. When you distance yourself, it creates a space for curiosity to blossom. People start wondering, what are they doing? How are they doing without me? This curiosity pulls them back, and it's not about them missing you, at least not in the way they may have initially thought. It's about them realizing that you're evolving without them, and that can be incredibly powerful. It's human nature to wonder about something or someone that seems to be thriving without you. And that's exactly what happens when you take a step back and focus on your growth. Maya Angelou once said, "Nothing will work unless you do." What does that mean? It means that when you stop waiting around for someone else to validate your worth, you create your own path. You don't need their attention to keep moving forward. You focus on building your life, improving yourself, and becoming the best version of who you are. This transformation doesn't require an audience. It requires dedication to your own growth, and that's the most attractive thing about you. As you grow, your life begins to reflect the energy you've invested in yourself. You're no longer stagnant, waiting for something or someone to change. Instead, you are constantly evolving, expanding your horizons, and developing new strengths. People who once took you for granted start to realize that the person they left behind is now someone they can't easily replace. They become curious about what you've achieved, who you've become, and if they're still part of that future you're building. This curiosity isn't about proving anything to them. It's about showing them that your life is not centered around their presence or absence. You've found the strength to keep moving forward, with or without them. And that realization triggers a powerful shift in their perspective. They see that you're not just waiting around, you're thriving. And that is something that pulls them back into your world. Affirm this with me. I'm constantly growing, and that is my strength. If you believe in your growth, write it down in the comments. When people return because they're curious about what you've become, it's not about them needing you. It's about them wanting to see how you've flourished without them. And that's a powerful position to be in. You've built a life that doesn't require anyone else to validate your success. You're thriving on your own terms. Number 4, you trigger their inner insecurities. When someone walks away, it can often be because they're not ready to face their own shortcomings. Their departure may have been about their own inner battles, not necessarily about you. But as time passes and they witness your strength, your calm, your resilience, something shifts. They begin to confront the parts of themselves they've been avoiding, the parts that are triggered by your growth. Seneca wisely said, "If you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person." And that's exactly what happens when you rise above the situation. You show them that growth requires personal transformation, and that sometimes their insecurities are the very things that hold them back from being the person they truly want to be. You're not responsible for their insecurities, nor should you feel the need to fix them. But your strength and emotional clarity bring them face to face with their own fears, their own self-doubt, and their own unresolved issues. They begin to realize that they've been avoiding the very qualities they admire in you. Your sense of self-worth, your ability to stand firm in the face of adversity, challenges them to examine what they're lacking. They return, not because they've fully dealt with these issues, but because your strength exposes the areas they need to work on. In a way, your growth becomes a mirror that reflects the things they haven't yet faced about themselves. And that's an uncomfortable but necessary experience. It's easy to avoid self-reflection when you're surrounded by people who don't challenge you. But when someone rises above, when they don't chase validation and continue to thrive, it forces the people around them to look inward. Affirm this with me. I am not responsible for anyone else's insecurities. You are not here to be a stepping stone for someone else's growth or to take on their emotional baggage. Your journey is yours, and while you may inspire others to reflect on their lives, you are not the cause of their discomfort. Their return is a reflection of their need to grow, not your need to fix them. When someone returns because you've triggered their insecurities, remember this. It's a sign of their inner struggle, not your weakness. You've shown them that personal growth requires honesty with oneself, and sometimes that honesty can be painful, but in that pain, there's an opportunity for them to change. And in that change, there's a chance for them to return, not just to you, but to the best version of themselves. Number 5, they miss your stability. In a world full of chaos and unpredictability, stability becomes a rare and invaluable asset. When someone leaves your life, they may not fully appreciate the calm and grounded energy you provided until it's no longer there. Your emotional stability, your ability to remain resilient in tough times, was something they took for granted. But when you're absent, that stability is deeply missed. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, reminds us, the greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Your ability to handle adversity with grace and strength is what anchored them, whether they realized it at the time or not. In your presence, they felt safe. They knew that no matter what was going on in their lives, you were someone who could hold it together. But when that support is no longer available, when your calm is withdrawn, they feel the weight of the instability they once overlooked. When they return, it's not just about missing you as a person. It's about missing the calmness you brought to their world, the stability that gave them peace of mind, even if they didn't always express it. Your emotional resilience acted as a foundation upon which they could lean, and once that foundation is removed, they are left to face the chaos without that anchor. You were the constant in a life that may have been unpredictable. When you're no longer there to provide that steadiness, they are forced to confront the turbulence that comes from living without it. Your absence speaks louder than your presence ever could. It forces them to realize that your stability wasn't something to be overlooked, but something to be cherished. In those moments when they return, seeking your grounding influence, it's important to remember you are your own anchor. You provide yourself with stability, and it's a power no one can take away from you. Your ability to remain composed, calm, and focused is yours and yours alone. They may crave the steadiness you once gave them, but it's important to recognize that you don't need anyone else to ground you. Affirm with me, I am my own anchor. I provide myself stability. This is a reminder that you don't need someone else to make you feel grounded or secure. You've cultivated your own strength, and that's something that cannot be taken from you. If they return, let them know that your calmness and resilience are not for sale. They are earned through your own growth. You are already whole, with or without anyone else's presence, and that is your greatest power. Number 6. They seek closure. They never had. When someone walks away, it's common to feel incomplete, as though there's a chapter left unwritten, unanswered questions lingering in the air. You may not have gotten closure, but that doesn't mean you need it. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The absence of closure from them doesn't need to leave a hole in your heart. In fact, by choosing not to chase after answers, you're exercising your control over your own peace of mind. Closure is something many seek, but it's often an illusion. People come back searching for answers, why things ended the way they did, why you distanced yourself, or perhaps even seeking an explanation for their own actions. But here's the truth. Your peace doesn't depend on their ability to explain or make amends. You've already found your closure. You've already processed the situation, accepted it for what it is, and moved forward. When they return, often it's because they have not found the peace they were searching for, and now they want it from you. They hope to tie up the loose ends in their own mind, to make sense of the silence you've given them. But while they're searching for closure, you are focused on something deeper. Your own emotional freedom. You have learned that true closure comes not from their answers, but from your own internal resolve. The best way to deal with their return is to stand firm in your own emotional independence. They may want to reopen old wounds or have you explain things that no longer need explaining, but your peace isn't negotiable. You've already moved on, and it's not your job to serve as their emotional resolution. You are no longer waiting for them to provide you with what they couldn't in the past. Affirm with me, I am complete on my own. When you say this, you are reminding yourself that closure isn't something anyone else can give you. It's a process that happens inside you. You don't need their words to validate your journey. The closure you've already found is stronger than any explanation they might offer. In the end, their return isn't about you. It's about their unresolved feelings, their unaddressed issues. You don't need to reopen that door. You have already found peace within yourself, and that is where your true power lies. Number 7. They see you thriving without them. There's something incredibly powerful that happens when someone walks away and you continue to thrive. At first, they may have believed your life would crumble without them. They may have expected you to fall apart, to struggle in their absence. But instead, you've become stronger, more independent, and more resilient. Maya Angelou once said, "You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated." And you, my friends, have not been defeated. Instead, you have flourished. Your success, your growth, and your ability to thrive without them is one of the most compelling reasons they might return. When you're no longer dependent on their presence for your happiness, when you show that you can live, grow, and succeed on your own terms, it triggers something in them. They see the strength you've developed in their absence. They see the person you've become, and it makes them question why they ever doubted you. What they fail to realize is that your growth isn't a result of their absence. It's a result of your own efforts, your own determination to evolve, regardless of their role in your life. You've built a life that isn't defined by their actions or approval. This is the kind of inner strength that attracts others, but it also serves as a stark reminder to those who left what they're missing. When they return, they do so not because they want to disrupt your life or seek validation from you, but because they're drawn to the version of you that's now so much more than they ever imagined. They see you thriving, and in their minds they may wonder, could I have been a part of this success? But by the time they come back, you've already found your power and independence. Affirm with me, I am thriving, independent of anyone else's presence. When you live this affirmation, you are owning your success. You've shown that your worth isn't tied to anyone's presence, and this is the most powerful message you can send. When they see you thriving, they can't help but be reminded of the person you are. A person who doesn't need anyone to complete them. And that, my friends, is exactly why your absence speaks volumes, and why their return is more about them than it is about you. You are already living your best life, independent, strong, and thriving without needing their validation. And that in itself is the most empowering statement you can make. So, I ask you now, what will you do with their return? Will you let their presence shake your sense of self? Or will you stand firm in the person you've become? The truth is, their return is not about proving your worth to them. It's about acknowledging that your worth has always been there, whether they saw it or not. You are not defined by anyone's actions, and you certainly aren't defined by their return. You've already learned to thrive, to grow, and to live on your own terms. Now, the question is, will you allow their return to add to your journey? Or will you recognize it as a reminder of how far you've come without them? Remember, you don't need anyone to validate your worth. You are complete, whole, and powerful as you are. Your absence spoke volumes, and your presence is a testament to your strength. Keep thriving, keep growing, and continue living with the resilience that has always been within you. Drop your affirmation in the comments. I am thriving, independent of anyone else's presence. Let's keep building this community of strength, resilience, and self-worth. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. You're in control of your story. Keep writing it.